We have a prominent person who will be, who has a management professional with 20 years of payment and real banking experience, excellent knowledge of digital payments as business models. He has managed critical engagements and programs across region. He is none other than, please help me welcome Vishal, CTO of NPCI on the stage.
Good morning, all of you. I think this is unlike Hyderabad, right? I don't expect early morning, summit to start at 9:30. And I was really surprised when I came. I know it was a great deal for me to come in so early. I was here by 9:15, and when I saw the crowd here, I was like really amazed. And I think it was a very easy decision for us to actually sponsor this event. I've been like working in Hyderabad at NPCI for the last 5 years. And this was my ask. I said, why don't we have an open source community event at Hyderabad? And when the opportunity came, it was like no-brainer for us. Yeah. So I think having this open source community event is something that I always wanted. And I think I brought this up many times with T-Hub and others also, where we said we need to do this. So I think it wasn't a surprise, and I'm very, very glad. I think this participation by all of you, I think really inspires us, and I think it tells us that we are in the right direction. We really need to come together, learn together, and I think this transformation that we are seeing, the technology, is really, really amazing. So I think today I would just like to touch upon NPCI journey on the open source and how we have gone about. I'll not spend too much time on the numbers and what we do sort of thing. I think that's for the business community to know. But from a technology perspective, I just want to lay a few things. Today NPCI runs all the retail payments in the country, including UPI, the Unified Payment Interface. We clocked about 14 billion last month, 14 billion transactions, business transactions. These are only approved ones. So I think coming to background from a history perspective, we started in about 2008. Until about 2016, no one knew us. We were supposed to be what we were doing. We were a B2B company running the payments, clearing house. And then UPI happened. And UPI brought us to the limelight. And I think one of the key reasons why we sort of got this prominence also is the fact that when we saw the adoption of UPI, right? We sort of felt from a clearing house we need to move to a different role, And I think with the scale that we were seeing, and I think around when we designed UPI, while I think the product was very, very innovative, the platform was very innovative, it obviously added a lot of value to the customer, right? I think there's a delta phi difference between IMPS and UPI. But I think one of the core principles that changed with UPI for us is adoption of UPI, adoption of open source. And I'm not sure how many of you know, UPI is completely on open source. The database, the messaging, the languages. We don't have a single licensed product running on UPI. And this is true across NPCI now. We don't have, all of our products have moved to open source except the CTS, the check truncation system, where we don't see a lot of growth. So we don't want to invest. So I think when we took this decision, I think we felt, our role is not just to, switching the transaction, but how do we build the technology competency to learn to, actually run open source, run open source without, without any difficulty. It should be a straightforward process, right? So I think there has been various, and if you can see the launches that happened after 16, till 14 we were like, 1 or 2 in a year. But if you look at 16 and after that, I think we have been at a constant innovation speed, and I think it is it is going higher and higher, right? So we have launched so many features, many milestones that we have done. And I think a critical contributor to our success has been open source community. Just a scale. So we do about, at a peak time in UPI, we do about 15,000 transactions per second, which translates to about 150,000 requests, API requests that happen. And if you compare that, this is a platform that we run. I think the searches is about 100K. We do, by the 4 countries, we have about 2.5 billion transactions, top 4 countries, whereas we do about 14 billion only in UPI. And the world population is 7.8. I think it's a great story, but we are still about 15% of digital penetration in the country, from a payments perspective. So we can still say that we have a lot to achieve. And more importantly, our ambition at this point, I hope it's not my phone. Sorry. And about 2017-18, when UPI was still in the early days, we had a vision. We had a vision that we want to be a company running UPI at 1 billion a day. We are half there. I think we are close to about 500 million at this point. So that was the vision we saw, and we were ready with a billion a day architecture about 2020. We were ready with a billion a day architecture. And today we are working towards 10 billion a day architecture. So overall UPI we have done. We are re-architecting to actually support 10 billion a day. And I think that's going to happen very soon. So billion will reach maybe in a couple of years, but even a 10 billion a day, we should be, I think, there in about 5 years. So that's the opportunity at hand that we have. And I think, as I said, a complete open source shop. This is on UPI and all the technologies that we use. We also have our AI stack as well as our DLT stack. We are primarily working on Hyperledger, but if you can look at all this software that we are working, all the applications that we are working, these are all open source that we are working on. Just a quick glance. So we were not like this when we started. So we were in about 10 to 15. We were all in a licensed products. We were more of a RFP. The team used to do RFPs, select the vendors and then let them run the systems, implement the systems and run it. And we saw the challenges with that. We saw the challenges in terms of, we were not able to control our destiny. We were completely dependent on the vendors, and vendors had their own priorities, and right or wrong, right? India wasn't, I would say, the market that was giving a lot of revenue, and NPCI wasn't. We were always looking at L1 as an option, right? So we had a lot of challenges in delivery, and that's where I think we sort of felt this is not going to help us. We have to move to we need to take our destiny in our control. And that's where we moved into the adoption of open source. About 15 to 20, we moved and very consciously took a decision. It wasn't an easy decision because things were running fine. We were not having too many challenges, but obviously we were not able to grow at the rate that we want. Every time we used to say, vendor has to come back and give the timelines. So I think that sort of we felt we were not able to, control or manage our destiny. And we took open source technology and we started working on IP creations and platform approach. And I think this is what actually led to the success of UPI. And about 21 to, still now also, we have also moved into deep tech technologies, the AI, ML, DeFi technologies, and have become a contributor towards the open source technology. We have now, I think T2, who's is architect at NPCI, will talk about the Falcon that we have built, which is implementation of HLF for any use case, and we have open sourced that model to the community. So he will talk about and do a live demo on what we have done there, right? So I think it's been the journey for us where a great learning, and I think it called for us to actually move from a clearinghouse sort of a regulator role to actually a deep tech sort of entity, because we didn't have a choice. We really didn't have a choice, because to manage the scale and to we used to have downtimes in 17, 18, and the whole country depended on us, right? We cannot afford a downtime, right? And whatever we did, it wasn't possible without we building that capability and the expertise in-house, and obviously working with the partners to get that done. We also have built the systems now where we are not just active, we are active. So we run UPI from 3 sites, and all 3 sites can take all the load, peak load from a single site. So we keep doing these experiments. We are completely, Kubernetes, complete adoption, bare metal, and we don't run our systems on any cloud because of the regulatory nature of the products that we run. We have our own in-house data center operating from 3 sites, that we have built. So many of us can actually, you can see the office here in Nanakramguda is a data center that we have. The first floor is a complete data center. And the second and third is, we have about 600 people working from there. All working on AI, ML, and blockchain and UPI technologies. And we also have a small set up the platform engineering team, which is running the systems. So that's, and we run in Chennai, and Chennai we have 2 sites, again, our own data center that we have. I think, as I said, this is what we have, while the UPI and the payment technologies, payment systems generate the transactions, we also have our own platform that we have built again from open source. We were on a Hadoop shop, which used to take care of our data warehouse requirements and modeling requirements. We have now again moved and built our own platform. This is on Flink and Min.io as a storage, and Superset as the front-end access tool. So again, completely open source, our own system that we have built. We're a heavy Kafka user. All our systems real-time send the data to other ancillary systems based on Kafka. And even with banks we communicate. We have also built for RBI, we have built the CBDC systems, which is completely on DLT technology. So I think a lot of these technologies has really helped us, and I think these are some of the data. I think one of the key component that we have is we don't have time. So the transaction has to go back to the consumer in a couple of seconds. So we also we have built a fraud model which actually responds into 10 milliseconds with a score. And we are able to detect about 60% of the fraudulent attempts and decline them with a very good false positive ratio about 1:20. So compared to the 14 billion transactions, we are able to handle most of the frauds. I know there are a lot of news talking about frauds happening on UPI. It is true, but we have actually curbed all the technology-related aspects of the fraud, which is the SIM swapping, all those things. But I think the only challenge that we have is on the social engineering. And obviously, I look forward to all your inputs if we can have a forum to see how we can actually work on it. We have obviously built about 25 child models, which actually works on various modus operandi and then declines the transactions. But any other inputs, any way we can actually make it better, I think the views are always welcome. So I think I talked about, I think this is, why open source. It's basically our code, our way. We didn't want to be dependent on anyone. And I think when we actually do any product, anything for India, I think the scale is immense. And if you want to build systems for at a population scale, citizen scale like India, I think you cannot afford a licensed product. You have to build systems that can scale and scale at a reasonable cost, right? Obviously, kitna chalta hai, that question keeps coming, right? So we also have that. So I remember when I started with NPCI way back in 17, we were, roughly about, our cost has come down. We have actually reduced our cost by about 1/6. You know, if you were charging about 50 paisa at that time, we are now charging about 10 paisa or something like that. So I think while the scale and everything has helped, and we have done heavy investments in our data centers, in all the new technologies, building deep tech capabilities, which has been very, very costly. I think that's one point I want to say. These are not easy competencies to build, right? I mean, to getting all these experts, all this expertise in-house is not easy. It takes a lot of investments, but I think in the end, it's worth it. It's definitely worth investing in your capabilities, working, and not be dependent on someone where you might have a lock-in or have challenges in delivery. I think I don't want to touch too much, but I think what open source has helped us is on the innovation. I think it creates that culture within the team, which actually lets us, challenge ourselves. We remember, like as I said, 1 billion a day was a very, very difficult goal for us to achieve. But when we achieved that and we were comfortable and we know that we are reaching about half of the target, we have a couple of years more to go. We felt no, this is not good enough. Let's get to the 10 billion a day, which is not maybe very far away, and we need to be there, right? So I think this innovation cycles that we are doing, the changes that we are doing, and I think a lot of times we are actually taking the changes that could be done at a bank side at a central level, so that not everyone needs to do or invest in this. So I think this is a big help for us, where I think the innovation and the agility that we have got with open source has been very, 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 very good. And it really helped everyone in the ecosystem. I think a lot of banks and other entities will not realize, but the open source adoption has helped us to actually make the changes very fast. And we now realize that getting that change done at a bank is not going to happen in the next couple of years. So why don't we actually do that? So this is a whole engineering team that we have. We have the transaction processing platforms, and as I said, we have also moved into a platform model. And we don't really look at a lot of our engineering teams as the product teams now. So we have the transaction processing, we have infrastructure, we have the distributed systems. Observability and monitoring is a very, very critical component that we have been working on, because I think it's very important to get those factors, saying where is the problem, and maybe get it early rather than after things go wrong. Right? So whether it's infrastructure, okay, come up next. And I think while we do all this, security infosec is of critical importance from our perspective. Yeah. Just one more slide. I think as I said, I think the whole team has changed. Again, we are, instead of looking at a very specific application development, these are the roles that we have, mostly looking at full stack developers. I remember we had difficulty in working with finding the Go developers a few years back. Now we are looking at how do we train them to work on Rust, because I think the technology needs that now. We can't be working on just one technology. Also IT ops, it's very important. And I think this part, the leaders part, is very, very critical. We don't look at leaders who are just aware of technology, but actually people who can value add and actually get their hands dirty. I think so whoever wants to be a specialist track, wants to contribute only through technology and code, wants to keep doing coding, we look at that as a structure, and we actually encourage those sort of leaders in the team. I think this has been the approach. I think this is public good. So as I said, whatever we build, we don't want to really take any IP sort of model here. There's nothing that is restrictive here. So it's for the public. Obviously, look at deep tech, and also look at how this can be utilized by everyone in the ecosystem. So that's primarily what has been our journey. I think how we have come from a consumer to contributor for open source community. Thanks a lot. I know I've overshoot the time, but looking forward, I think this is a great start. I would really encourage that we should have more and more of these events, and NPCI will always be supporting and make the Hyderabad as a destination for open source is what I would say. Thank you all.
Now I request Kapil to give away the mementos to our speaker. Please have a huge round of applause for Vishal.